Chris Godinez, licensed professional counselor, also the host of We Need to Talk on every Sunday at noon. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. The views and opinions stated herein are mine and mine alone. They do not represent the ACA, the APA, or any other damn therapist for that matter. Boom! Shakalaka done. I'd like to thank my sponsor, BetterHelp. BetterHelp. BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. They're an online therapy company. They are international. They have over 30,000 therapists working for them. I've gotten great feedback from people using them. So thank you, BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. Okay, so much to dive into. So yesterday, Trump decided to bomb Iran. Every single client I have is freaking right the F out. People who have been abused feel like they are living under their abuser's roof again and unable to escape. So the question I keep getting asked over and 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 over, how do I feel safe? How do I take my power back? I feel helpless. I feel like I'm in this situation that I didn't want and I didn't want to be in, and somebody else is making decisions and I have no voice and nobody's listening and I'm screaming and nobody's listening. And so here's the deal. And this is going to be hard to hear and it's going to be hard to say, but here it is. Nobody's going to come to save us. They did not come to save us when we were being abused. How many times did we speak out and go, hey, this is going on, and nobody did anything, and people knew there was something off, especially in my situation. I told you, and you guys know this if you've been with me for a while. If you don't, I've written a book called, What's Wrong with Your Dad? Where did I get that title? Well, a woman walked up to me in the drugstore of Gridley, California, and looked at me and said, "Oh, you're so-and-so's daughter." And I said, "Yes." And she said, "What's wrong with your dad?" So people knew. And I told teachers and they did nothing. It feels very frustrating to call and 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 call, and the senators are doing nothing. But at least I've done something. So that is one thing you can do, is call your senators. Call your senators, call your representatives, call other senators, call the ones on the other side of the aisle. Let them know what you think. It may not do anything, 110%. It just may absolutely be like speaking to an empty room. It may be, but at least you will have had your say. And for me, that helps me feel a little calmer. It's kind of like the Buddhist worry chart. Is there a problem? Oh, hell yeah. Is there something I can do with it about it? Limited. It's limited. What can I do? I can make phone calls. I can call senators. I can write letters. I can, do what I need to do. I can protest. I can, I'm not personally going to go out and protest because we've covered that. But anyway, the point being is we can do things. Okay. The other thing that will help you feel safe. Okay. There is no FEMA anymore. There is no Federal Emergency Management Agency. It's gone. They're not going to send it out. States that have been having emergencies due to, natural disasters, et cetera, begging for help. No, the government's basically giving them the middle finger. They're not coming. And that's even red states. So what you can do is help yourself feel safe by being prepared. Okay. When I lived in Los Angeles, I had an emergency kit. I did. I kept an emergency kit because I knew it was earthquake prone, and we had plenty of water. We had plenty of food. And so when the Northridge hit in 1994, when dinosaurs roamed the earth, we were prepared. We had enough food and water for us, our roommate, our cats. So we felt safer than the people that didn't prepare. So there are things you can do to help yourself take some control over your own security and safety. And one of them is preparing. John is going to post something. I think it's from the Red Cross or Mayo Clinic. I don't know which one it is, but he's going to post this. Here are the essentials that you need for an emergency situation. And this goes for whether Iran retaliates, which they are going to, whether it's a terrorist act, whether it's a dirty bomb, whether it's whatever, whether it's an earthquake, whether it's a hurricane, you need to be prepared because we're on our own, basically. So here are the things you need to be safe. Essentials for an emergency pack include water, 1 gallon per person per day, non-perishable food, canned food, a first aid kit, a flashlight with extra batteries, a battery-powered or hand-cranked radio, a manual can opener for the canned food, a multi-tool or Swiss Army knife. I love those. Those are great. I use them even in non-emergencies. Have important copies of your documents, cash, and personal hygiene items. So why? Because if you're dealing with a narcissist and you need to bug out for some reason, you need to leave, something's not safe, or you need to get out and you've got the kids and you've got joint custody and your ex is a hose beast, you need your documents, you need your divorce decree, you need your divorce paperwork, you need your marriage license or your birth certificate or your passport or whatever. You need to have those important items together so that if you do have to leave, they then can't, oh, well, blah, 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 make stuff up as their want. You have the proof saying, hey, I have the right to do this here, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You may or may not be able to leave the state. That depends on what's going on, but you need all your documentation with you. Okay. Water, 1 gallon per person per day for at least minimum 3 days. I'm saying a week. Food, a 3-day supply. I'm saying a week. Non-perishable, ready-to-eat items, first aid kit, including bandages, antiseptic wipes, pain relievers, and any personal medications. Flashlight, a waterproof or a headlamp style with batteries is ideal. A radio, battery powered or hand cranked to stay informed. Manual can opener, multi-tool, personal items, medication, eyeglasses, contacts, hygiene products, copies of important documents. We went over that. Clothing, whatever is appropriate. In here it's summer, so, clothing to protect you from the sun, and sturdy shoes. Cash, ATMs may be unavailable during an emergency. Pet supplies, food, water, leash, any necessary medications for the pets, a whistle to signal help, a mask for dust. Here in the Southwest, we get dust storms, so you just need that. Plastic sheeting or duct tape for an emergency shelter if you need. Local paper maps, not GPS, not banking on the internet working. So you need to familiarize yourself with paper maps. You need to be able to read them in case there is no internet or GPS and you need to leave. So that's just a way to help yourself feel safe. It's kind of like, it's always be prepared. It's like, the Boy Scout motto. It's like, be prepared, right? So not saying you're going to need all of this stuff, and you may not, and I hope we don't, but at least we have it, and so it'll help us feel a little better about whatever, it's like, okay, stuff goes south, stuff goes sideways. Me and mine are going to be okay. I can help my neighbors. I can help myself. It's going to be okay. And that is a way to help yourself feel more empowered. That is a way to help yourself feel a little more secure, a little safer, because things are happening that we have absolutely zero control over. And yes, we can call and we can, tell them what we think and all of that sort of fun stuff. Will they do anything? Well, they haven't so far. So, but again, I feel better. Like, when I heard that they bombed Iran, first thing I did, got on the phone, called Senator Kelly, called Senator Gallego, left my 2 cents, hung up the phone, and I was able to go have a nice night with my friends. It's kind of like, okay, worry chart. Is there a problem? Can I do anything about it? Well, I called. Okay, good. All right, let it go. And I did. So that helps. It's like, okay, what else can I do? Okay, well, so then this morning when I woke up, I looked at John and I was like, okay, we need to get stuff together just in case, because I'd rather be prepared. Thank you very much. And that is a trauma response, 110%, but I'm aware of it. And if it helps us feel better to be prepared, then do it. 110%. Family and friends may not understand. They may be like, oh, you're a prepper. Blah, blah. No, I just need to feel safe. And this is part of feeling safe. Taking action helps us calm our vagus nerve, and it helps us calm that trauma response. We're taking a little bit of power and control back. We do have power and control over what we have around us. Now, that's not to say I want you to go on a crazy spree and buy every single piece of toilet paper like what happened during COVID, but I do want you to get together a survival kit. I do want you to get together a if shit goes south kit. That's what I want, because that's going to help you feel more secure. So there that is. I think I covered everything. I just want to make sure any other essentials that I missed. Local maps, communication, cell phone, and a backup battery for sure. So John posted places that have a whole list. I think it was Red Cross and Mayo Clinic. So anyway, there that is. And whatever you're feeling, you're not wrong. So don't make yourself wrong. Okay, diving into today's topic, vulnerability, which I'm pretty sure we're all feeling right now. So abusers hate any emotion, really, any emotion. They hate it. They don't feel the way we do. They don't like feeling vulnerable. And when we've been raised by an abuser, we learn to not like feeling vulnerable either. Why? Well, for one thing, when we did have emotions around our abuser, whoever that was, whether it was a family of origin or whether that was a boss or a romantic partner or whatever, if we had emotions they didn't like or didn't suit them, they would punish us. So we learned really, really quickly, no emotions, no vulnerability, no crying, no anger, no this, no that, just, that's what we had to do. But that is unhealthy. It is so massively unhealthy. And it's really important to allow yourself to be vulnerable with you first and foremost. I know that's people are probably looking at me and going, what? So, vulnerability with yourself. What emotions do you consistently avoid? Seriously, think about it. What emotions do you consistently refuse or are afraid of expressing? What emotions do you not allow yourself to have? The number of times I have clients telling me that they hate feeling scared all the time, or that they hate crying. Hate it. Hate it. Nope, not going to cry. You can't make me. Oh boy. Listen, kiddos, I've been there. I've done that. Somebody asked me if I would if I would talk more about my family of origin. So for those of you who are new, I wrote a book years ago called What's Wrong with Your Dad. It's available on Amazon. It's also available on Audible. I do the narration because I don't trust other people to narrate. And I talk about from birth until 10 years ago when I wrote the book. So you can get that, and that will go through and explain and will help you understand where I'm coming from. But it will also enlighten you as to where probably you're coming from as well. So anyway, there's that. And while I'm talking about books, don't forget Shahida Arabi, Breaking Trauma Bonds with Narcissists and Psychopaths. Great book. Highly recommend it. Do it. Anyway, getting back to this, we don't like expressing emotions because we got punished. We got punished. We got told, I got hit whenever I cried and told that I was a Marine and that Marines don't cry. It took me until I was 16 to realize I hadn't enlisted. So it cuts us off from our genuine, true self. And that's what they want. They don't like genuine, true emotions. It makes them uncomfortable because they don't feel them. We still have the emotions when we're being abused. We do. It's just that we suppress the living crap out of them. And that's not healthy and that's not good. Hold, please. It is so dry here. Oh my God. Anyway, being vulnerable with yourself means really taking a deep dive into what emotions are you avoiding? What are you refusing to feel? Let's take a look at that. So a lot of us have a hard time with anger towards our abuser. Like, oh man, the one thing that I've heard abusers say over and over again is, oh, anger is a futile emotion. You shouldn't be angry. And or you can't be angry at me. I'm your parent. Or you can't be angry at me, whatever. Right? So they invalidate it and they make it so that it's not okay for us to be angry, or they punish us for being angry, or they punish us for seeing the pink elephant taking a crap in the corner of the living room. That's what abusers do. So we learn really quickly to shut everything down. So when we come out of or we are leaving an abusive relationship, we are literally not whole. We're not, because we have suppressed and suppressed and suppressed and suppressed and not taken care of. And then it's no wonder we have a slew of physical issues, autoimmune diseases, constantly getting sick, inability to lose weight. That's the cortisol. It's there's a whole bunch of stuff that goes along with being abused. And we must take care of ourselves all over, not just the physical body, but the emotional body as well. So anger is a perfectly okay emotion to have. You're allowed to get angry when someone has hurt you or something or whatever. Okay, so anger, let's talk about that for a moment. Anger is not a pure emotion. All of the other emotions are pure. Love is love, lust is lust, happy is happy, sad is sad. Anger is the bodyguard of the more vulnerable emotions, like sad, hurt, scared. That's what anger is protecting. Okay. It's there to keep us safe, because when we were with the abuser, we could not express sad, hurt, scared, couldn't really express anger either. So they would punish us for protecting ourselves, because anger is part of the fight, flight, freeze, or fawn response. So when we start going through that whole fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, a threat comes in, hits the amygdala, right? Amygdala lights up like a Christmas tree, tells the hippocampus, hypothalamus, oh my God, we're in danger. We need to get out of here. These guys release cortisol, our stress hormone, and it causes us to tense up because we're getting ready to fight, run away, freeze so that the predator doesn't see us and just walks on by. That is my least favorite one. Or it tells us to give in, fawn, give in, give them whatever they want. Hopefully they'll leave you alone, that kind of thing. So fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. So it does that. Okay, we tense up. Now we've cut off the oxygen to our lungs. Now we're taking these puffy little breaths that don't go anywhere, just, panting. Just upper part of the lungs doesn't fill up anything. Oxygen doesn't get into the system. And when the oxygen does not get into the system and the CO2 oxygen exchange is wonky donkey, it tells another part of the brain further down on the brain stem, which is a little more reptilian, OMG, we are going to die. There is not the proper exchange of oxygen, CO2. Okay, we need energy. We need to get out of here. That's where the flight comes in. So then the adrenal gland is enlisted, and the adrenal gland dumps all of the adrenaline all at once. So now we've got racing thoughts. I gotta get out of here. I gotta do, what am I, and we're panting. We're not taking deep, heavy breaths. We're not breathing normally, and we're shaking like a leaf. Good evening, and welcome to the beginning stages of a panic attack. Okay. At this point, people do one of two things. They either go into the full blown, I can't breathe, oh my God, and they're panic attacked, or they turn into Bruce Banner, the Incredible Hulk. That is a defense mechanism. Anger keeps people at arm's length. It does. Trust me, I used it a lot. So it's unconscious when we're using it out of unconsciousness, and it doesn't serve us in the long run. So anger is appropriate. I just want to say that anger is appropriate, and anger is okay to have. If somebody's hurt you, you're going to get angry. You are, because you're experiencing fear, sadness, or hurt. And you need to figure out what is underneath the anger, though, so that you can accurately and concisely describe or explain what you're feeling. Now, if you're trying to describe or explain it to an abuser, that ain't going to do shit, because they don't listen. They don't care. But if you've got a partner or a friend or a family member that is loving and supporting, and you're going through this and you need to explain to them what this anger is about, yeah, it's a really good idea to start figuring out what is underneath the anger. And the kudos I will give to John is that when we all realized what I was doing with my anger, because I was angry all the time. I'm literally Bruce Banner, angry all the time. That's my secret. I am angry all the damn time. And that is a trauma response, 100%. And more so angry in the past than I am. Well, I'm pretty angry right now, but mostly it was in the past. And when I got angry, he learned to ask me, what's underneath the anger? Are you hurt? Are you sad? Or are you scared? And after I told him to go kick sand and finally calm down a little bit, I was able to express, oh, okay, yeah, I am feeling hurt, or I am feeling scared, or I am feeling sad, or whatever. So abusers really mess with our ability to express our emotions, to have our emotions, to have vulnerability. They perceive sad, hurt, scared as a weakness. It's not. It is a part of being human. It's an early warning system. It's letting us know what's going on. That's why emotions are hugely important. They let us know what our body is perceiving. It's like when I get that flight going, because apparently flight is my first one, fight is my second one. So, but if I get that flight going, I know it because I can feel that I have to get out of here now, kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? And that's a good sign to me. It's like, okay, where is the danger? What is going on? What do I need to be aware of? It's an early warning system. And if we are willing to allow ourselves to feel the body, feel the emotions, it can be used as a tool to keep us safe. Counterintuitive, I know. Opposite of what our abuser has always said, I know. But once we learn to allow the emotions and allow the feelings, we can use that as a tool to figure out what we need to do. And isn't that funny? Because that's exactly what the abusers do not want us to do. And that's why they cut us off from our emotions. That's why we can only be whatever they want. If they want us angry, then the anger's fine. Because, oh, they want to fight. Oh, they want this. Oh, they want that. That's okay. Because then they can manipulate you and be the victim and blah, blah, blah. Do you see where I'm going with that? Or if they want us sad and crying. Because remember, emotions to them are to be used. They use tears are their cocaña. Absolutely, which is why if you're dealing with an abuser, don't bother trying to explain your emotions to them. They won't get it and they will use it against you. Anything you say can and will be used against you in the narcissistic court of, oh my God. Do you see where I'm going with that? So you want to, when you leave an abusive relationship, you must work on allowing yourself to feel the feels. Feel the feels. There is no bad emotion. Vulnerability is not a weakness. It's not. It's a superpower. It is. So think of it this way. Healthy relationships literally thrive on both parties willing to be vulnerable with themselves, acknowledge what they are feeling, experience what they are feeling, and then accurately communicating to each other what's going on. That's a healthy relationship. If we are not allowing ourselves to be vulnerable with us, we are being inauthentic. Let me say that again. If we are not allowing ourselves to be vulnerable with ourselves, we are being inauthentic because we're suppressing, we're hiding, we're not being real. So many clients, I can't even begin to tell you, when we start working on the emotions, they tell me it's like, oh no, I can't, I hate crying. I hate it. Okay, why? Well, because my abuser would fill in the blank. They would either, hurt them more to get them to cry more because they're sadists and they enjoyed it, or they would punish them like my dad did. I'll give you something to cry about. That was a common theme. Or they would shame them. Remember, shame. I want you to remember this. Self-harm and mangled emotions, and it always belongs to somebody else. It is not yours. Do not accept that luggage. Put it back on the carousel. So they would shame us for having real emotions because they can't have emotions. And how dare you have something I can't have? That's literally the way they think. So it's really, really important for you to allow yourself to feel. Now, how can you help yourself feel safe? Because this is the big thing when you're feeling vulnerable. You start small. You do. You find somebody, a trusted trauma therapist or a trusted friend or a trusted, keyword trusted, family member that you can allow yourself to start expressing your emotions with. Or if that's too much, you can just start in private. So I encourage a lot of my clients to, when they're dealing with this, when they're trying to allow themselves to be vulnerable, when they're trying to allow themselves to cry, to create a safe space in your house. Now, this needs to be done away from the abuser. If you're with the abuser, didn't you know you need to be safe? Do you see where I'm going with that? When you get away from the abuser, create a safe space in your house. It could be a closet, it could be a bedroom, it could be whatever. Make it yours. Own it. Make it yours. Make it comfortable. Make it safe. Get a fuzzy, warm blanket. Get a pillow. Get something you can hug. And then allow yourself. And if you're having a hard time crying, what I used to do is I would put on the saddest music I could possibly get my hands on, and I would just go to town and I'd allow myself to cry because it was never okay to cry. It wasn't. I'd get punished for it. I'd get hit. I'd get shamed, self-harm and mangled emotions. Yep, that's pretty accurate. So you allow yourself, you just allow. What is it about tears? So tears are cathartic. Every single mammal on the face of the planet tears up when they are in pain. Doesn't matter what kind of pain, emotional pain, physical pain, whatever, they tear up. They absolutely do, as do we. So tears are cathartic. They help us clear the energy. They help us clear the space. They also help us acknowledge I'm hurt. I'm sad. I need a hug. I need, that's what I'm saying. A nice big pillow to kind of grab, that's always a good thing. And a fuzzy blanket. I love those fuzzy blankets that are so soft. You know what I mean? Those are just awesome. And so you just kind of, take care of yourself. Self-care involves allowing the feelings. It is a part of self-care. Now, with anger, let's talk about anger. Anger is a hard one to express if we've been so suppressed, if we have been so repressed, if we've been so put down and shamed and everything else. We have this fear, and that's really what it is, that if we express our anger, that we're either A, going to get punished, or B, it's never going to stop, and they're afraid of what's going to happen. So here's the deal. I strongly recommend find a rage room. Seriously, I do believe there are some in Phoenix. I know that there are some in most major metropolitan cities. You find a rage room and you go in there and you just break stuff, and you do it with intent. What are you angry about? Who are you angry at? So let me give you a great example. When I was going through my master's degree, I had a printer that decided to crap out on the very last paper that I needed to do to get my degree. And so it was a scramble to get another printer and get everything printed up and this, that, and the other thing. And technology is not my friend anyway. So when I was done and I got everything done, I was still mad at the printer, which really wasn't the printer, but I was going to take it out on the printer. So I took the printer, which was absolutely not salvageable anyway, out to the backyard, grabbed a sledgehammer, and I beat the living crap out of it. And it made me feel so good. And what was under all that anger is all the times I had been let down by somebody who was supposed to be there for me. Boom. See where I'm going with that? You think it's one thing, and it turns out to be way deeper. So that is why the rage rooms are great, because you start bagging on a printer, or you're throwing plates, or you're doing whatever, and it turns out, oh, this thing that I thought I was angry about really has to do with a lot more emotional stuff. And that's okay. And you practice by writing angry letters to your abuser and burning them. Do not send them. Listen to me now. Believe me now. Do not send those letters. Those letters are for you and your inner child, and that is it. So you write an angry letter to the abuser. Dear abuser, bleep the bleepity bleep bleep out of bleeping bleep you bleeping bleep bleep bleep, or whatever you need to say. And then you list out everything they did. And at the very end of the letter, you take your power back. You have no more power over me, mother clucker. You have no more power. I have the right to be mad at you. And I'm furious. How dare you? How freaking dare you? And you just get as angry as you need to. And at the very, very end, you get out of my head. You're evicted. You're banished. You may not stay up here anymore. Go pound sand. And then you trot that letter out to the barbecue. You read it out loud once and you burn it. And I can guarantee you're probably going to cry. And that's okay, because they hurt us. Abusers, not one does not. We don't come out of this unscathed. Let me put it to you that way. We do not come out of this unscathed. We don't. We get hurt. We do. And we suppress that. And we're, we were told we couldn't get angry or we couldn't cry or whatever. And then we're left with all these feelings that we don't know what to do with. So we suppress them and we take them out on ourselves. No, 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 no more. Wrong. Incorrect response. You write them out. You go to a rage room. You get with a therapist. You start working through this stuff. You start allowing so that you are a whole and complete human being. And I can guarantee you, taking back that power is going to go a long way to protecting you from ever getting involved with another abuser. 110%. So crying is cathartic. It helps clean out the system. Every mammal does it. We are mammals. If we feel pain, we're going to tear up. You ever hit your thumb with a hammer, you're going to tear up. You're also going to get really mad. So, it's important to allow. Anger is there to let us know, okay, what's going on underneath, and it's okay to get mad at your abuser, especially if the abuser was a family of origin, mom, dad, grandparents, whatever. We got that message. Oh, you can't get mad at us. That whole thing, it would honor thy mother and father. The very next line though, guys, is parents, do not bring your children to anger. It's a two-way street, even in the Bible. So you've got to get rid of all of that mistaken thoughts, mistaken beliefs about emotions that the abuser shoved into our heads. None of it's true. There are no bad emotions. It's just what we do with them that makes them helpful or hurtful. Now, if we're shoving emotions down and we're not conscious and we're not paying attention and we're not being meticulous in our integrity or in our authenticity, the emotions are going to come out sideways. So what we tend to do, what everyone tends to do, if you have not worked on yourself, those feelings will come out to a safer target. You don't want that. Take it out. You'll take it out on the spouse. You'll take it out on the dog. You'll take it out on a friend. You'll take it out on whatever, because it's unconscious. There's no intent there. Because being angry at the abuser was really scary when you were a kid or when you were under their roof. So it's really important that you start owning your own emotions and allow yourself to be vulnerable enough to experience them and to redirect them to where they need to go. Talking to the abuser directly is never going to work. There is no there there. It is all ego. 110%. There is no real there. It's all ego. They don't understand emotions. But writing it out, sometimes speaking it out. I encourage my clients in the shower, in the car, on the walks. If I'm needing to work something out, when I walk the dogs by myself, I will have a complete and total dialogue. Okay, this is what I'm thinking and feeling, and I just get it out. Because that's the healthy thing to do. Suppression is not healthy. Repression is not healthy. Ignoring is not healthy. This leads me to another topic really quickly. How are we doing on time? I don't even know how we're doing on time. I've got my contacts in and I cannot see anything close up. Scary. Okay, I'm going to get to the questions really quickly, but waiting for critical mass. So a lot of survivors of abuse I have seen, a lot of their trauma response is to wait for critical mass. Just wait. Oh, maybe it'll go away. Oh, maybe it'll be, it's just and we'll just wait. But then what ends up happening is the poop from the elephant in the corner of the room just keeps piling up, piling up, piling up, piling up. And by the time it hits critical mass, it's too late. It's too late. You've either pissed off your partner or you've, cut off your own escape route or you've whatever. Do not wait for critical mass when there is a problem. If you break your arm or your leg, you don't wait and see how it's going to effing heal. You take care of it in the moment. And that's what we need to learn because we've been taught it's a learned behavior. And the good news is waiting for critical mass is a learned behavior so we can unlearn it. So we've learned to avoid emotions, not deal with them. Wait for critical mass. And then when it's almost too late, then we take action. No. Take your power back. Take action as soon as you see a problem. That is self-care. And that is going to get you a long way down the road to healing. 110%. Because it is empowering to go, oh, Pink elephant, where's my elephant gun? Okay, let's get this handled. And you get it handled and it's done. Is it painful in the process? Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah, you're going to feel the feels and it's okay. That's what being a real, genuine person is all about. So I encourage you, what emotions are you avoiding? What emotions are you refusing to feel? Those are the very ones you need to start working on. 110%. Okay, I'm going to get to the questions. And I want to let you know next week, I want to talk about how to stop being so naive. So a lot of us get this, what's the word I'm looking for? Like rose-colored glasses, like, oh, it's not as bad. Oh, we minimize. So I want to talk about rose-colored glasses. I want to talk about the balance. It's like you don't want to be naive and you also don't want to be cynical. That is no bueno either. You want to go for the middle path. So we're going to talk about the balance between rose-colored glasses and cynicism. So that is what we're going to, when we're healing and when we're thinking about dating and all of that good stuff. All right. So let's dive into the, oops, I forgot to turn my sound off. There it is. Okay. So what are some strategies or exercises to stop waiting for critical mass? Okay, it's going to involve DBT. DBT, like a boss. Dialectic behavioral therapy is mindfulness. So you first have to identify, what are you thinking? What are you feeling? And how do you know that you're avoiding something? You know, and especially if it's an issue that has come up before, you know what you're doing. You do. It's mindfulness. It's like, oh, I have faced this similar situation, and boy, I want to run from it. That's avoidance. It's a trauma response. How do we develop that? It's because of how our abusers treated us. So it was clear that we needed to avoid. It was clear that we could not say, hey, you know, there's a pink elephant in the corner of their living room taking a crap over there. You might want to do something about that, because what did our abusers do? They would abuse us. They would punish us for seeing it. So we learned to be like, oh, I don't see, there's no pink. I'm la, 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 la. You know, we learned to do that. So that's a learned behavior. And if it can be learned, it can be unlearned. So as soon as you recognize you're avoiding something, I'm avoiding it, I don't want to see that. That's your cue to dive into it. 110%. And that's not easy. It's not like, oh, sure, I'm going to change this in one day, but it's also not that difficult. Is it scary? Yeah. And the inner child. Absolutely 110%. How old were you when your abuser made sure that you didn't see what they didn't want you to see, or didn't call it out, or weren't able to protect yourself? So Inner Child Workbook by Catherine Taylor, Regaining the Inner Child by Lucia Cappuccioni, CPTSD from Surviving to Thriving by Pete Walker, Facing Codependency by Pia Melody. All of those books are going to help you stop doing the critical mass thing. You don't want to avoid. The problem is still going to be there. Just because you're saying there is no problem does not mean there's no problem. Does that make sense? So, you know, if you're like, oh, no, don't want to see, oh, no, you know, it's still there. And especially if your spouse keeps bringing things up over and over and it's the same damn thing over and over, here's your sign. You might want to do something about that. You might want to stop avoiding. And you want to be vulnerable enough with yourself to acknowledge, I'm scared. That's why I avoid. That's why I don't want to deal with this. But I'll tell you something. It is way worse to have to deal with things that have been sitting there, festering, stewing, getting nasty when it's hitting critical mass than it is to deal with it immediately. If you deal with it immediately, it's done. It's over. There's no worrying about it. So it's this weird thing of, I'm going to avoid, I'm going to avoid, I'm going to avoid. Oh gosh, it's still there. Okay, well, I'm going to keep avoiding. Okay, well, it's still there. Oh, just deal with it. Just deal with it. Hit it head on. And that's going to entail taking care of your inner child. That is going to entail empowering and encouraging your inner child. So what you're going to do is you're going to do a lot of mirror work. Hi, good to see you. Have a great day. You know what? It's okay to hit things head on. It's okay to say what's true. It's okay to see the pink elephant. It's okay to deal with the pink elephant. I am safe. I am okay. And it's all right for me to have my emotions, and it's okay for me to deal with uncomfortable topics. It's okay. The other thing you can do is guided imagery. So you go somewhere safe. You go in your head somewhere safe. You imagine your inner child coming to you. You pick them up, you hug them, you tell them how amazing they are. And you walk them through the times when your abuser made sure that they could not speak their truth. But this time you change the memory. Hey, little one, I'm right here with you. I got your six. I've got your back. Your abuser is not going to be allowed to do any of this abuse BS while I'm here. Absolutely not. So let's change this memory. Now that I'm an adult, how would you like to see that changed? And then you change the memory. You work on that. You strengthen that inner child, showing them that, hey, I can take care of things. I can address issues. I can deal with things that are uncomfortable. Are they still uncomfortable? Well, yeah. But you survived. You became an adult. Good job. Keep going. You know what I'm saying? And then when you're done and they've gone through that memory, you hug them, you praise them, and you ask them what they need. What do you need? What do you need? You need a hug? You need me to be here to protect you? You got it, kiddo. I am so on board with that. And then you send them off to play, and then you open your eyes. So you work with your inner child. It's really important. That is where, unfortunately, all of this stuff happened, is when we were growing up, when we were learning how to. So if we had parents that made sure we did not see or did not deal with or just hoped that it went away, that's really important to start working on that. So yeah, there is that. Okay, let me get to the next question. When we need to see a forensic doctor from the judge, who can we ask to keep us company? I'm very alone. Friends can't come. Worried about behavior. That's a darn good question. I do not have the answer to that one. Who can keep us company? I'm very alone. Friends can't come. Worried about the behavior. I would talk to a therapist about that. I really would. I would see what they say. I'm assuming it's in a divorce case where they demand a forensic evaluation on the entire family. If you don't have family and you don't have friends, that's a real tough one, because, if you have a therapist, they may be able to recommend something, or they may be able to go with you. I doubt it, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, because usually I would say friends or family that you can trust. Maybe a trusted coworker. I don't know, but careful. And yeah, I would ask a therapist. I would ask your therapist, or yeah, support groups. Support groups. You can get a hold of a support group. You can explain what's going on. You can see if somebody can come with you. That would be another way to do it if you don't have friends or family. Okay, let's see. What else do we have? How to deal with agoraphobia alone, scared of going out through this building. Agoraphobia is the fear of everything, literally the fear of everything. It's a phobia, it's a fear, it's something we focus on when we have a high amount of anxiety, because it's easier to focus on being afraid of everything as opposed to dealing with the emotions. So what emotions are you avoiding? I would get with a really good trauma therapist. This is a trauma response, 110%. I cannot tell you the number of people who have been through trauma that have agoraphobia, that have PTSD, that also have agoraphobia. So what ends up happening is we get traumatized, okay? PTSD, you want to start reading maybe a DBT book on PTSD. What happens is we get traumatized, and then we start avoiding places, people, things that remind us of the trauma. And eventually that becomes everything. That's when it becomes agoraphobia. It's Greek, I believe, is the word. Agora meaning everything. So we are afraid of everything because we've now associated literally everything with a trauma. So it would be a really good idea to get with a really good trauma therapist to start working on that. A DBT book on PTSD would be a really good idea. Yeah, that's good. Trauma therapist. That's going to be your best bet. And getting a DBT book, dialectic behavioral therapy book on PTSD and on phobias, I think would be a really good idea. Often, what I find is when people have phobias, no matter what the phobia is, it's easier to focus in on that fear than it is to focus in on what's really emotionally going on. So you want to be very crystal clear. What are you feeling? What are you avoiding? How is this keeping you safe? How is this now harming you? And what do you need in order to feel safe to get through a building? What do you need? And start coming up with game plans. But definitely talk to a therapist. Agoraphobia is nothing to mess around with. It comes from PTSD, and you want somebody to be able to help you through that. That may involve, excuse me, that may involve desensitizing you. So, like, I had a client that was in a horrific car accident, and she was terrified of getting into the driver's seat. Even riding in the passenger seat would cause terror. But so what we did is we just took trips out to the parking lot, walked up to the car, walked up to the driver's side, had her put her hand on it. Okay, that's enough. All right, let's go back inside. Let's process. So it was desensitizing to all of that. That's why I'm saying get with a good trauma therapist. That's probably going to be your best bet. Okay, let me see. Do we have any other questions? Let me look. No, that looks like we are it. Okay, so next week we are going to discuss the difference and how to balance between complete minimization, naivete, and complete cynicism. And that, when we are learning, when we are healing, we have a tendency to go from one extreme to another. So don't beat yourself up for that. But we do want to hit for the middle path. So we're going to talk about balancing naivete with cynicism. So that is going to be next week. All right, you guys, go have a very, very good week. Take really good care of yourself. And remember, for survivors of abuse, part of self-care is taking action. So that means calling your senators, getting together an emergency kit just in case, hurricane, earthquake, politics, whatever, so that you feel secure and safe. Take good care of yourselves, drink a lot of water, and I will talk to you next Sunday. Bye.